Welcome to day 3 of Workplace Hazards. We're looking today at chemical labels. First of all substances in a workplace must be labeled so we know what it is. Labels have to follow an approved, consistent format so we can tell what they are and everyone can read them very easily. Which legislation defines which substances are considered hazardous, which then dictates which of the global harmonious system pictograms we're going to be using. And lastly, workers must read and sometimes make labels. So yes, you could be asked in a workplace to make a label for a product. So we're going to move on in 3, 2, 1. First of all, there are two types of labels, and the first that we're going to look at is a workplace label. These are made when a product is transferred from the original container. So this is made in the workplace by a worker like you or I whenever we transfer something from the original container. Now we're usually told not to move stuff out of original containers, but there are some times where it's incredibly important that we should be doing it. Most companies will use a standard peel and stick label. I can show you one in class, and the idea is that you simply write on them with the appropriate information, you peel the backing off and stick it onto the appropriate container. This may be done when. So here's the conditions when you would normally be making one of these labels. To work with smaller amounts. So one of the chemicals I have is a approximately 20-liter barrel of methanol that was purchased before I started working at the high school about 20 years ago. And I still have the barrel. It's still pretty much full. And I don't want to work with a 20-liter barrel with students. So sometimes we want to work with small amounts. It lets many people work with the same chemical. So again, if I think about that 20-liter barrel, if I want everyone in the class to be able to use some of it, I need to transfer it into small containers so that everyone can make use of it. And lastly, if the container or the label on the container is damaged. Not with that particular one, but I've had situations where you drip a liquid down the edge of the bottle and the liquid soaks into the label and damages it and makes it unreadable. You need to replace the label. Or if something happens to the container, nowadays most chemicals come in plastic bottles, which can become brittle over time. In the past, a lot of bottles were glass, which could break if you drop them. So damage to the container or damage to the label is both possible. The label must have on it the following. It's got to have the material name. It's got to have that pictogram or the name associated with it, risk phrases, and a reference to see the safety data sheet that goes along with that chemical. So those are the 4 things that have to be on it. And I guess I should have, I'm going to use my marker here. The bracket was intended to go around there and not there. So we'll fix that. Okay, moving on to the last slide in 3, 2, 1. Supplier labels. All right, so all products purchased from another company must come with an approved supplier label. Depending on where you work, you probably have seen a number of these. In addition to all the workplace label information that we mentioned on the last slide, it must also have the company information. So we need to know specifically what company made the chemical. We need to know first aid measures, so not just risk phrases, but we need to know the first aid measures to take in case you get harmed. Precautions that you need to take. So remember with the workplace label, there were risk phrases. So risk phrases are things about it that could be harmful. Precautions are things that you should be avoiding doing, and first aid measures are what to do in case you still have a problem. And lastly, it's supposed to have a hatched border. Now, hatched borders, depending on the moment we're talking about, sometimes they said that the hatched border had to be in red, so it'd be like a series of lines like this. I should have gotten something a little thicker, I guess, but hatched lines like this. At one point they said they wanted them in black, so it'd be a series of lines going around the edge like that. Okay, and I think that's the last point on this, so thanks for watching, and we will see you in class tomorrow where we try and figure out some chemicals based on not labeling them, just to see how this system works and why it's really important. Thanks for watching.